Welcome to Wisdom Teachings with Dr. Amanda Love. Today's topic: you have never been alone. You have never been alone. One of the deep pain points of the human experience is the feeling of being alone. Despite the fact that there are billions of other humans and countless numbers of animal and plant lives, we feel alone. We hold on to relationships way past their expiration date because we fear being alone. We procreate to not feel alone. We fill our lives up with things that are not important to us so that we don't have to feel the nothingness we fear. Yet despite our attempts to not feel alone, we still do. What is this emptiness we are perpetually running from actually rooted in? And is it even real? I'm not denying the fact that we experience feeling alone. The experience of such is undeniable. Yet is it really true that we are alone, or are we just conjuring up the idea of aloneness and then pasting it onto our experience of life? Let's start with what it means to be alone. We have all had the experience of being at a party, in a relationship, or inside of a family or friend system and feeling alone. Lots of people around, yet aloneness prevails. We have all also had the experience of being physically alone and feeling totally connected and content. So clearly people and or stuff being present or not present inside of our experience does not equate to aloneness. One could say that aloneness is really a sense of connection or disconnection. When we don't feel connected to something, particularly ourselves, we experience the feeling of aloneness. If we are rejecting ourselves, fighting with ourselves, or in some way not at ease with ourselves, we feel disconnected. This is often when we might say that we feel alone. Experiences can activate or amplify this sense of disconnection inside of us, but only because that sense already exists in us. There is a landing pad for it. What is this landing pad made out of? It is made up out of an identity of being a separate somebody. As soon as we make ourselves distinct or separate from another, we create the illusion of disconnection. It seems as if we can be alone because we view ourselves as separate from. And because this isn't actually true, it doesn't feel good. Untruths about how we are viewing ourselves always feel bad and are our grand indicator that we are seen from an untrue perspective. When we don't feel good, we do everything we can think of to stop that feeling, including fill our lives with things that we actually don't want to fill them with. While on some level, we know this doesn't prevent us from feeling alone, we feel like we don't know what else to do. The idea of turning inward and connecting with ourselves just simply doesn't dawn on us. That is, until it does. Connecting with ourselves is a foreign concept for most. Many don't even feel like there is anybody home inside. When they peer in, all they see are programs and stories that they've learned from previous generations about who they are and what life is. At your purest essence, you are spirit. You are the formless awareness that takes up the space of the form you call yourself. When you don't know the formless awareness, but rather only know the made-up identity of a separate person, you feel lost. You may function well in the world, but you don't know who or what you really are. This is the root of our deep sense of aloneness, even if we don't know how to label it as such. Our identity consists of beliefs, some of which we are aware of, and others not. To make a shift in our identity requires that we have different beliefs. This takes investigation, turning into ourselves, and self-awareness. The point of not knowing our nature is so that we can come to know it, or some might say remember it. In spiritual circles, we call this waking up or becoming spiritually aware. You begin to recognize that there is more to you than your physical body, emotions, and thoughts. There is an essence or intelligence that is beyond them and beyond what you know as you. You might not be able to explain what you know or make logical sense out of it, but you can no longer refute that there exists something more than you thought did. When you recognize that this separate self-identity that you've created is not really who you are, you start to poke holes into your beliefs that make that separate self seem so real to you. While for some this is a massively destabilizing process, for others it just makes sense and feels like coming home. Something you've always had a hunch about, but now you know. This connection to and with self is full and complete. There is no aloneness inside of it because its nature is inseparable. Nothing that exists can exist apart from it. All beliefs of separation must come to the forefront to be seen as nonsensical. When what we see in front of us no longer makes sense to us, we will drop our belief in it. We don't need some long, drawn-out process. We simply need to see that it no longer makes sense to believe that separation exists. The experience of separation is a belief, not an actual truth. There is just one, and this one has infinite expressions of itself and comes to know itself through those expressions. Your form or identity is one of those said expressions. The expression is not who you are. It is simply a mirror to help you see and know yourself. Yourself as the inseparable one, the connected one, the complete one, the one that is alone only to itself, and itself contains all, so it could never be alone. You are always connected even despite the layers of beliefs that say other. While your experience may not always validate your inseparability back to you, and may attempt to reinforce your beliefs in separation, you can always come back to the knowing that you get to choose whatever you want to believe about whatever it is you do believe. As soon as you recognize your free will to choose your beliefs and perspectives, then once again you can rest into your connection with and in yourself.